Okay, meron tayong hinanda na video from YouTube. We thank YouTube for this. At yung mga cause-oriented people around the world who are doing this. This is a group that has a song. Anyway, we'll just play the images and that. So, let's move on to the Philippines. Bakit ang Pilipinas ba mag-aalala tungkol sa gera? Should the Philippines be worried about, or should we be more worried about second term ni Pinoy daw, or kung ano-anong mga issue, or ano bang latest celebrity scandal or ano? Anyway, to make a long story short, we should worry about the next war because we know merong mga may interest na magpalaganap ng gera. At sabi mo nga, Jean, doon sa zona ni Noynoy Aquino, ano sabi niya tungkol dito sa issue ng peace and war?
Yeah, instead of course, delivering the truth about what was really accomplished by the government, he was boasting on the purchases in terms of arms, defense supplies, etc. It was very alarming for us, especially women's groups, no? Because it's this idea of military's response to problems is, of course, it's very patriarchal, and we've seen, history has shown us that it doesn't resolve anything. It results to deaths. Talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, comfort women issue is not resolved up to this point, no? From that war. We are still suffering. The women, they've aged already. Many of them are dying, and they haven't really received compensation or justice from the sexual exploitation that they have suffered. No? So I'll be worried, not of war. I'll be worried of warmongering, because as we've discussed in the earlier part, people are earning from this. There's a huge industry na kumikita dito. And so it's our cause also as women's groups to push for dialogue, for the concept of regional commons instead of disputing about territories. It's very important to look at these borders as a European invention that's definitely anti-migrant, it's very racist, and it really fuels war.
Okay, you're looking now at some images from Hiroshima. Tulad niyang nakikita nyo, yung sunog-sunog, laplap ang mga balat nung mga hindi namatay at silawan lang nung unang flash. Sabi ko nga doon sa magagandang mga PA natin, si Rachel at si Baby, gusto niyong mangyari yan sa inyo. So this issue of war, itong gera, issue ng gera, mahalaga sa atin. Wag tayong magpalihis sa issue na ito ngayon, lalo na itong taong ito. We are reminded of all the tragedies that can come from war, but also important to remind people na may kumikita dito ng bilyon, hindi makwentang bilyon sa mga gerang ito. Rusty, let me ask you now, isn't the Philippines being pushed towards war? Yung mga attitudes sa China Sea dispute?
Very clearly, yes. In fact, Philippine foreign policy has always been aligned with Washington since 1946. And today, with the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, the EDCA of 2014, that was timed with Obama's visit to the country last April, is clearly a further proof that the Philippines, under the Pinoy regime, is in a warmongering path. Now, the problem here is that instead of taking an independent and internationalist progressive foreign policy position, he's actually running to one bully to fight another bully, in this case, the national chauvinist bully of China. Our position in terms of a foreign policy line should be neither Washington nor Beijing. And clearly, we should have in the Southeast Asian Sea, not the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea, the Southeast Asian Sea, because it's a body of water in Southeast Asia. It should ensure that all the resources are shared by the region for a common good. So it should develop a concept of a shared regional area of regional commons.
Well, okay, it's good that there are ideas like that na yung the commons, no? Ito ay dapat pakinabanggan ng lahat. May I request that we continue to show those images, no? Doon sa ibaba, tulad kanina. Doon yung mga images yan. Ilagay lang dyan so people will see the setting in which we are discussing this.
The ugliness of war.
Well, I think China has made the position very clear, even during Cory Aquino's time, that they want to share And they want a sharing arrangement. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng joint development. I think it is the US that does not want this to happen. Because ang ehemplo ko dyan is Malampaya. They want Malampaya all over the China Sea. Where China is out, US, British will get 90% and Filipinos, oligarchs will get 10%. Manny Pangilinan will get most of it and not the Filipino people. So I don't think China is a bully. China is asserting itself, but has it asserted itself beyond the disputed areas? That's why it's called a disputed area. But we're not going to resolve that issue in this discussion. What we're saying is China has not taken aggressive action in terms of physical, military acts. Ang Scarborough standoff, you will recall, in 2012 ba? 2012, it was not China that sent in a naval vessel. It was the Philippines that sent in BRP Del Pilar. Right? Del Pilar ba?
Del Pilar.
And that is a naval ship. And that is a signal of a militarist approach to the issue. Anyway, Jean, you were going to say something.
I just wanted to say that China is negotiating with Vietnam
That's
about
right,
sharing common resources as well. So it can be done. No? There are ways. Well, it's still in this array. I mean, there are avenues by which we can approach itong territorial disputes na to, a peaceful avenue. I think the mainstream media should also be called to task. Because they've been saying, for example, there were Chinese poachers. They have to mention Chinese. Instead of saying all poachers should be prosecuted. So itong nationalist na mga sentiments that's very racist, anti-Taiwan or anti-China are also part
Even
of the
in the
flame.
case of Taiwan, Taiwan's fisherman was shot
by
Philippine Coast
Coast
Guard.
Guard.
So itong nationalist is important to us. We need a sense of nationhood, pero it is misused by some vested interests for their financial, economic interests. No, Rusty?
Well, clearly, the U.S. is pushing the Philippines to assert its own space so that in collusion with Manila, Washington can actually use and exploit those resources. So obviously, they're also trying to forge some kind of a tension situation in the area, and the obvious person in mind is China, so to speak. Yes, China to a certain degree has not been a militaristically aggressive country for a long time now, but in relation to its bullying tactics to assert as far as they can get, whatever they can get, is a point of tension in itself, which should also be questioned at this time by the international community. But having said that, the Pinoy regime in the Philippines today has not been able to clearly assert such an independent foreign policy position. And that's the reason why China is saying that Manila has always been using Washington's skirt to hide whatever agenda it has in the region.
We have to review the facts about this bullying because there was a joint Vietnamese, Chinese, and Philippine seismic survey. Remember that?
Yes,
that was
yes.
not bullying. But who bullied whom? The Americans bullied the Philippines to kick out
Yes,
the Chinese and the Vietnamese from this arrangement. You have to keep in mind there is a bigger bully in the neighborhood.
Actually, when I say bully, that's in terms of the national chauvinist position of China, because it should take an internationalist perspective. It's guided by the Communist Party of China, and the principles are international.
We're not going to be discussing
However,
that.
yes, I agree. The main enemy is U.S. imperialism.
Ang sinasabi ko lang, importante to, one and the world and Filipinos must understand. There is one driving force, provoking wars, not only here in Asia, but you see him in North Africa, in Africa as a whole, in MENA, Middle East and North Africa. Yes, Jean, please.
Oh, I would just like to call our attention also to what Pinoy just did in Japan. Na he was also harnessing Japanese military power to intervene in disputes beyond its territory, which is very unconstitutional in Japan. We are working with our brothers and sisters in Japan to uphold Article 9 of the Constitution, which is very anti-war. But what did our government do? Pinoy himself said, you know, the Japanese government should be able to defend neighbors, etc. And we're absolutely against that.
Well, the Shinzo Abe was placed by the Americans there.
Exactly.
Finorce out yung anti-base Japanese
Prime
government,
Minister.
Prime Minister, ano, and in a short transition of less than a year, in-install naman si Abe.
Very
who
right-wing.
Post-haste made the Diaoyu issue a big national issue and so on. So, yeah,
If I may quickly point out, just to continue what I said earlier, the international political, economic, security structure worldwide today is greatly dominated by U.S. imperialism. Its dominance on a hegemonic scale is forcing it to, as I said earlier, eat up into the space around the world, physical space, resource space, political space. And that's exactly why they are pushing countries, weaker countries under their control, to create wars.
I'll give you an
wars
example.
in order to ensure that there can be regime changes
Okay.
and positioning or pre-positioning of U.S. military basing
Let's
arrangements.
take the case of Ukraine now. Ano? Diyan sa Ukraine, US staged the coup against Yanukovych at nilagay si Yatsenyuk. No? Si Yatsenyuk now resigned but has been forced to stay on because the Ukrainian economy is collapsing. Ano? So nag-sanctions ang US, ayaw sumunod ang Europe, Western Europe, European Union, ayaw sumunod. No? Because they have a great deal of economic interest in trade with Russia. So what happened? The MH17, so bumagsak sa eastern Ukraine. Who did that? US press immediately says Russia is to blame. But up to this day, 3 linggo na, ano, wala pang nilalabas ang US State Department na ebidensya na alam ng lahat, meron silang satellite doon, lahat, ano, AWACS and so on. The Russians have come out with their evidence, ano, that they did not lead it and maybe not even Eastern Ukraine rebels. Lumalabas ngayon, OSCE, Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe, no? Bershkovsky or something like that, Canadian, Ukrainian independent monitor, unang nakarating doon, took pictures, no? And he says, machine gun holes ang tumama dito sa fuselage, sa pilot seat area. Ano? And Russian radar shows at least one, possibly two, Ukrainian jets, Su-25s, no? Who exactly have the 30mm cannons as one of their its main armaments. But that's a long story that deserves another discussion. But after the Ukrainian collapse, MH17 crash, the Americans were able to force European Union into sanctions. Anong sagot ng Russia ngayon ng sanctions? They will boycott all the agricultural goods that they're buying from all the countries that is sanctioning them, Western Europe. That will cost Western Europe 15 billion euro. But it will cost only the US 1 billion euro, yung boycott na yun ng products from the West. That is what the US is doing. They're creating trouble so that even their own allies will have economic problems. Well, we have only 30 seconds. We'll exit now, but we'll show that part of the music, Ka-Baby. If you can still play it, all over the world, in many languages, there are many songs about Hiroshima. So maraming salamat, Ka-Rusty and Jean.
Thank you so much, Kamento.
We'll have our next
Kamento.
discussion. So let's just enjoy part of the music. Meron ba? As we move into our break, we will have